She called me too needy. So I walked out, found someone better, and never looked back. I, 29M, never thought I'd be the guy to post here, but after everything that's happened, I need to get this off my chest. Maybe it'll help someone else spot the red flags early. So, I was with Emily, 28F, for almost 3 years. We met through a mutual friend at a party. She was funny, confident, and had this magnetic energy. At first, it felt like I had hit the jackpot. We clicked immediately, and she actually made the first move. Said she liked that I was emotionally available. I thought that meant something. Spoiler, it didn't. The first 6 months were incredible. We were going out a lot, texting constantly, late-night calls, binge-watching shows together. She even introduced me to her family early on. Looking back, I realize now that I mistook love bombing for actual connection. She loved being the center of attention, and I gave it to her. I wanted to make her happy. Things started to shift around the 1-year mark. Subtly at first. She got a new job, started hanging out more with her coworkers, most of them guys, and slowly began pulling away. I noticed she stopped texting me during the day. If I asked how her day was, I'd get a cold, busy, talk later. But when I didn't reach out, she'd accuse me of being distant. It was like walking a tightrope. I tried to communicate, told her I felt like something had changed. She brushed it off every time, saying, "You're just being too sensitive," or, "It's not all about you, you know." Every time I tried to express that I was feeling neglected, I got hit with, "You're too needy." That phrase became her favorite weapon. Anytime I wanted affection, attention, or just basic communication, I was too needy. I started internalizing it. I thought maybe I was asking for too much. I started backing off, giving her more space, not realizing I was slowly losing myself in the process. One night, we had dinner plans. I waited at the restaurant for over an hour. No call, no text. When I finally got through to her, she said, "Oh, I forgot. Went out with my team after work." Just like that. No apology, no guilt. When I said I was hurt, she replied, "You're being dramatic. It's not a big deal." I remember going home that night feeling so stupid. Like a damn puppy waiting for someone who clearly didn't care. I tried to make it work. I planned date nights, left her little notes, even cooked for her after work. She'd either ignore it or say something like, "You don't have to try so hard." I didn't ask for any of this. It hurt, man. Really bad. But the worst part? She never wanted to talk about it. Any serious conversation got shut down with, "Not this again." Or, "God, why are you always overthinking?" Then one weekend, I got sick. Not like a cold. I had the flu, full-on fever, chills, barely able to get out of bed. I asked if she could stop by and maybe bring some meds or soup. Her response? "I'm not your mom, dude. Handle your own shit." I stared at that text for a long time. That was the moment something in me snapped a little. I realized I was in a relationship where I gave everything and got nothing in return. But instead of confronting her or walking away, I just went quiet. I stopped trying so hard. I started observing, watching how she treated others versus me, watching how she smiled at strangers but rolled her eyes when I asked for a hug. That's when I knew I wasn't needy. I was just begging for the bare minimum. After that text, "I'm not your mom, dude. Handle your own shit," I lay in bed with a 102-degree fever and the realization that I wasn't in a relationship. I was in a one-sided loyalty contract, one I didn't even remember signing. Still, part of me held out hope. Maybe she was just stressed. Maybe things would go back to the way they were. Spoiler, they didn't. She didn't check in on me once while I was sick. Not a text. Not a call. A week later, when I was finally back on my feet, I confronted her, sat her down, and said, "I feel alone in this relationship. I needed you last week, and you just ghosted me." She sighed like I had asked her to donate a kidney. "I'm not your emotional support animal, Alex," she said. "You're a grown man. Act like it." I was stunned. I didn't even respond at first. Then I just said, "Do you even love me anymore?" She laughed. Actually laughed. "Why do you always need validation? This is what I mean. You're always so needy." That was the third or fourth time she used that word like a knife. But this time, it didn't cut me. It pissed me off. I started pulling back. Not to play games, but because I was genuinely tired. I stopped texting good morning. Stopped planning dates. Stopped asking how her day was. And guess what? She didn't even notice. Or maybe she did and just didn't care. She started going out more, coming home later. Once, she didn't come home at all. Said she crashed at a coworker's place because she was too drunk. My gut told me something was off, but I didn't have proof. And honestly, I didn't even have the energy to argue. Around this time, I started talking more with my friend Sophie. We'd known each other since college. She had been in a long-term relationship herself, but they'd recently split. We started texting casually, mostly about life and work. I didn't think much of it at first, but the contrast between how Sophie talked to me and how Emily did was eye-opening. Sophie actually listened. If I mentioned I was having a rough day, She'd check in later to see if things got better. She remembered the little things. Asked questions. She made me feel seen, something Emily hadn't done in months. It wasn't romantic at that point. Just two people finding comfort in decent conversation. But the difference was so stark, it hurt. I realized I had become so used to neglect that basic kindness felt revolutionary. One night, Emily came home drunk and picked a fight over literally nothing. Said I was too boring, that I didn't challenge her, that she felt trapped. I asked her if she wanted to end things. She shrugged. I don't know. Maybe. I asked, why are you still here then? She said, because it's convenient. Convenient. That word stayed with me all night. I wasn't a partner to her. I was a convenience. A placeholder. A guy to cook her dinner, keep the lights on, and pretend things were fine. The next morning, I made a decision. I wasn't going to beg anymore. I wasn't going to chase someone who didn't give a damn. I wasn't going to let someone tell me I was too needy for wanting the bare minimum. Later that week, I met Sophie for coffee. We talked for 3 hours straight. No awkward silences. No judgment. Just connection. Real, human connection. I didn't kiss her. I didn't even hint at anything romantic. But when I left that cafe, I knew one thing for sure. I deserved better. A week after that coffee with Sophie, I officially ended things with Emily. It wasn't dramatic. I didn't want yelling or manipulation. I waited until she came home one evening, calm for once, and I said plainly, I'm done. She blinked at me like I'd just spoken another language. Done with what? With this, I said. With being treated like I'm some kind of emotional burden. With begging for attention. With you pretending you're still invested when it's obvious you've already checked out. She scoffed, arms crossed. Wow, you've really been keeping a list, huh? I stayed calm. You called me needy. Multiple times. But I was never asking for anything unreasonable. I just wanted to feel like I mattered. She rolled her eyes and said, you'll regret this. No one's going to put up with how sensitive you are. I didn't respond. I just walked past her, grabbed my backpack, which I packed earlier that day, and left. I crashed on a friend's couch for a few days. It was messy, sure, but I felt freer than I had in over a year. Sophie checked in a lot during that time. She never pushed boundaries, just sent simple messages like, hey, thinking about you. Hope you're doing okay. You'd be surprised how healing it feels to just be seen by someone without strings attached. Eventually, I found a new apartment. Nothing fancy, just enough for me to breathe and start fresh. Over the next month, Sophie and I grew closer. Not in a rebound way. I was careful about that. We both were. We spent time as friends, long walks, deep talks, movie nights that turned into 2 a.m. conversations about everything and nothing. One night, I told her about the too needy comment. She didn't laugh. She didn't roll her eyes. She said, wanting connection doesn't make you needy. It makes you human. That hit me harder than I expected. A few weeks later, things just shifted. Naturally. One night, we were sitting on my balcony, watching the city lights in silence, and she reached for my hand. It wasn't fireworks or some dramatic movie moment. It was simple, quiet, real, and it meant everything. Fast forward to now, it's been 6 months since I walked away from Emily and 4 months since Sophie and I started officially dating. And let me tell you, the difference between being tolerated and being loved is night and day. Sophie doesn't make me feel like I'm too much. She makes me feel like I'm enough. She's the kind of person who remembers how I take my coffee, who notices when I'm off even if I haven't said anything. She gives a damn, in the small ways, in the big ones, in all the moments in between. And you know what's wild? I'm less needy now. Because when your emotional needs are met without you having to beg for them, you stop feeling like a burden. So to anyone out there who's being told they're too needy for asking to be treated with respect and affection, listen carefully. You are not too much. You are just with someone who gives too little. Find someone who gives a damn. I did, and I've never looked back. I appreciate you watching till the end. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content.